Just trying to, yes, we've just started the recording. So, welcome to our Sanskrit class. The first session, we will begin with the verse of our great Shantideva, in which he says, Manjughosham namasyami yat prasadad matishubhem kalyanam vandeham yat prasadancha vardhate. Which means, I pay homage to Manjughosha, that is Manjushri, hymn of gentle sound, by whose grace the mind is centered on the auspicious, and I salute the Kalyana Mitra, the friend for auspiciousness, which is the Guru, by whose grace the auspicious increases. This is a very subtle verse, and perhaps after today's session, you may actually already recognize a few of the cases and a few of the information, the grammatical information that is needed to understand the verse. But I don't want to scare anyone away. So I'm just telling you that you might actually understand some of the grammar already after today's session. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namas Sanghaya, Namo Gurubhyaha. Namo is homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha, and then homage to the Gurus in the plural, homage to all masters. Definitely after today's session, you will understand the entire grammar of this ancient phrase. It is said in all instructions that one should start with something interesting, appealing, something that inspires, so that the nitty-gritty afterwards becomes more digestible. So here I have prepared for you from the Varna Bija Nighantu, a very esoteric, tantric texts, an agama text. I have prepared for you the full map of the presence of the Sanskrit vowels and consonants in the subtle body and the granthis, the knots that they release. Our beloved teacher's sister once told me, clearly pronouncing the Sanskrit vowels and consonants means one will no longer be born in lower realms. So she was saying that in the context of her joy that we are Sanskrit teachers and that we are studying Sanskrit. So she said only pronouncing the vowels and consonants suffices, let alone, of course, the language. We dive directly into the subject matter, so you will begin to understand what this statement means, that the vowels and consonants have a presence and effect in the subtle body. The vowel A in the subtle body is located at the crown, the fontanelle, and according to the scripture, dissolves delusion, reveals original wisdom, pure awareness. The vowel A in the subtle body is located in the face, dissolving the knot of pride and revealing the radiance of qualities. The vowel I, the short vowel I, in the subtle body is located in the right eye, dissolving the knot of desire, revealing contentment. The long vowel E in the subtle body is located in the left eye, releasing rising energy, and revealing mental calm. Especially this vowel, please remember, because in a few minutes it will become relevant again. Releases rising energy, revealing mental calm. The vowel U, short U, in the subtle body is located in the right ear, dissolving the knot of aggression, transcending states. Here again, remember this one, transcending states. It will become relevant in a few moments again. The long vowel U in the subtle body is located in the left ear, dissolves the knot of anger, revealing the flow of knowledge, jnana pravaha, the flow of knowledge. The vowel R in the subtle body is located in the right nostril, dissolves the knot of coarseness and reveals detachment. The long vowel R in the subtle body is in the left nostril, dissolves the knot of fear, revealing security. The short vowel L in the subtle body is in the right cheek, dissolves the knot of vanity and reveals sthiti. Sthiti, stability. The long Lru is in the left cheek, dissolves the knot of greed, reveals well-being. The vowel E is in the upper lip, dissolves the knot of fear and reveals patience. The vowel I is in the lower lip and dissolves the knot of shyness, lajja, and reveals the splendor of magnificence, or splendor or magnificence, not of, splendor or magnificence. The syllable O is in the upper row of teeth, dissolves the knot of hardness, and reveals amrita. Amrita means nectar. The vowel O is in the lower row of teeth, dissolves the knot of entrapment, revealing benevolence. Now I'm sure that some of you are already thinking, does this mean that we should recite these syllables in order to bring about that energetic effect? And the response is yes, exactly. That is what the scriptures suggest. And of course, as part of Sanskrit verses and words, all these syllables, vowels, and so on, of course, arise, and therefore when we pronounce them clearly, it begins to have this effect on the subtle body. Which is why when mantras are pronounced clearly, enunciated clearly, that is the effect we experience. Then there is two special sounds. One is a nasal sound, pronounced as or it can be im if there is a different vowel in front. But this sound, the M with the dot on top, this is known as a nasal sound, anusvara. You will get all this presentation, don't worry. So you don't have to necessarily take notes unless where you want to. So this a nasal sound. It's not an M, it is a sound going through the nose. Often when people, whether Indian origin or Tibetan or other Bhutan and so on, Asian origin, they sometimes just say this as an M or sometimes as an ng. It is neither. It's a nasal sound. Anusvara. It means a nasal sound. The great founder of the earliest Sanskrit grammar, Panini, simply calls it mukhana sukhanunasikayo, which means a sound that is made with the mouth and the nose together. Yeah, so you have to practice that a little bit. And in the subtle body, it is located at the tip of the tongue and dissolves the knot of suffering, revealing perfection. That is quite a mighty claim. Maybe some of you are wondering, could this be the reason why the seed syllables of mantras always end in this sound? Almost always. Om Mani Padme Hum. Forget the ah. This is just helping to pronounce it. It's about this one. Yeah, it's about the M, so-called M with the dot. Om Mani Padme Hum. Then likewise, an extremely important extra sound is known as expelling energy. It is known as visarga in Sanskrit and is represented by an H with a dot below, and in the original script by 2 dots. This is also the same in the Tibetan script, because the Sanskrit Devanagari script and the Tibetan script, they are very close, almost mutually intelligible if one knows what to look for. So the 2 dots, they are equivalent to the H with the dot. This sound, like the previous one, is found in all the seed syllables. Think of Hri, the longer version of the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, Hri. Yeah, it is it has a powerful effect, releasing, liberating energy and revealing the unstoppable, Aniruddha. So imagine how brilliant it is when you are reciting the mantras correctly. This will be part of our sessions. Not only grammar, but also that you learn to recite the mantras correctly, so that you say Namah, not just Namah, but Namah, with this expelling sound. And then you begin to feel the energy of it. We have now covered the 16 vowel sounds that are related to vowels. We now come to the consonants. Let me explain that the A is just to help the pronunciation. Like, for instance, in English, we also say A, B, C. But when we say B, there's not really an E in the consonant B. A, B, C, D, we say. F. In the consonant F, there isn't really an E at the beginning. But when we pronounce it, we say F. So similarly in Sanskrit, the masters developed the system that when we pronounce the consonants, we always add a short A. So we say Ka and then Ka in the next one. This is just to aid the pronunciation, because by itself you can't really say K. You can, but K, it sounds a bit strange. Now, where is it in the subtle body? It's in the right armpit. It dissolves the knot of relentlessness and reveals kindness. Then there is the aspirated. Aspirated means it is a similar sound as the previous one, but has more air in it, more prana in it. So, ka. Whereas this one is ka. And here, let me joke a little bit for a second. I do hope it's okay for you if I sometimes joke. People tell me off for that. But you see, the non-Indian origin and non-Asian origin people, Germans, Swiss, Americans, and the worst of all are the British. I hope there are, except for Arun, there are no British people here. They have the greatest difficulty to pronounce these things correctly. I remember a few years ago, well, 25 years ago, I was invited in Heidelberg University in Germany for a seminar on Sanskrit. And there was a PhD student at the time, and he was from the UK. And he just couldn't pronounce these properly. And I was just, you know what I did? I told him, Alex, do you mind if I put my finger in your mouth so I can show you where in your mouth you pronounce this? He says, okay, can you wash your hands, please? And I said, sure. So I washed my hands and I put my finger in his mouth and I said, look, put it there. Say, ga. And I think for the first time, without exaggeration, for the first time in history, a British man pronounced Sanskrit correctly. Because, you know, like that. And now he's a professor now at Ashoka University in India, and I kind of sometimes joke to him. I think partly that's thanks to my fingers. You know, I'm just joking, I'm joking. But he's a wonderful person, wrote wonderful PhD thesis on the relationship between Buddhist logic and Kashmiri Shaiva philosophy. Wonderful man. So in any case, try to follow the pronunciation a little, because here on Zoom, I can't put my fingers in your mouth. Maybe when we meet once personally, you know, I don't know, we can do it. I'm joking, I'm joking. So, ka. And I've come up with a little bit of a help. The Italians and the Spanish, they do very well with all this. Why is that? And the Greeks too. Could it be because Greek and Latin are very close to Sanskrit? Well, maybe. So they do very well with this. This ka is like the Italian cappuccino. Cappuccino, ka. This is not the American cappuccino, no. The ka, as in the American way of saying that word, is more this one, the aspirated one. Yeah? Now the Germans, the good old Germans. Well, they have the problem that they say everything very harshly. You try to tell a German, please, can you just say it gently? It doesn't come out gently. It comes out harshly. I don't know why. It is, again, a mystery. So for the Germans among you, German origin, try to say this softly, not Kali, as you always say. No, no, it is not Kali, it is Gali, Gali. Kali, as you sometimes say it, is this sound. Kali, okay? So it is not Kali when you see this letter. It is Gali. Try. Gali. Okay. Good. So then, Ka is clear. And then the powerful Ka. In the subtle body, it is in the right elbow. It dissolves the knot of destructiveness and reveals open space. Come, which we just saw in Tibet, the open space. And come, in fact, is the syllable of space in Sanskrit. It's the seed syllable of space, and it also means space. In Sanskrit, you can say ke, it means in space. Ke, because come means space, and ke means in space. And somebody who moves in space is called a kechari. Kechari. Those of you who are well knowledgeable in the tantras and in tantric philosophy, you will know that Khechari is a synonym for Dakini, the one who moves in space. Khe comes from come, right? Very powerful syllable. Is also pronounced in many mantras. Ram, yam, come. Yeah, so very powerful. Then we come to the very soft ga. Here again, the Germans, they say this very harshly. They say ga. But the way they say this ga is more like this one, which we just had. So this has to be very soft. Ga. And I don't know if this sound exists in many other languages. Maybe the Italians among you can think, is there a soft ga in Italian? Ga. Maybe. It is in the subtle body in the right wrist. It dissolves the knot of arrogance and reveals attentiveness. Could that be the reason why the tantras ask us to begin spiritual practices with this syllable? The early tantras, Charya, Kriya tantras, not the Dzogchen tantras. I'm talking, there are many, many tantras, of course. They say, start with this, start with gum. Why? Well, we are all a little bit arrogant. Therefore, it dissolves the knot of arrogance and reveals attentiveness, the softness of it. Look at that gum. It reveals attentiveness. Then the aspirated form of it, those who have no background, you will begin to understand the logic. Each consonant that has a non-aspirated has an aspirated. This is the non-aspirated, gum or ga, and then comes the aspirated, ga. And see how I'm pronouncing it, ga. Very powerful, beautiful sound also, ga. In the subtle body, it is at the right finger basis. It dissolves the knot of unwholesome decisions. I should recite this more. And it reveals intelligence. Very interesting. Ga. This is the same as in Manjushri's name that we just read. Manju Ghosha. Manju Ghosha, not Gosha. Yeah, so if we look at the verse that I chanted for you, Manju Ghosham. Ghosham. Not Gosham, but Ghosham. It's very beautiful if you learn to pronounce it correctly. Manju Ghosham. Even in the name, the energy comes through. He of gentle sound, Manjushri, is known as Manju Ghosha. It's so beautiful if you can feel the energy of it. Then comes in the first row of these are all, if you look in your mouth, they are all in the same location. Ga. That's where I put in Alex's mouth. I put my finger there. I said, there, Alex. Ga. They're all in the same location. Ga, then ka. Ga, and then ga. And now each also has a nasal equivalent. This is known as na. This is very similar to the English na, as in the word English. It's very similar. In the body, in the subtle body, it is in the right fingertips. It dissolves the knot of attachment and reveals great joy. This was the first of the 5 series of consonants known as the ka series, which is at this particular location in the mouth. Which location? Panini tells us these are the gutturals. Guttural means at the back of the mouth. See, kantya. Ka, at the back of the mouth. So the energy and the focus is here. ka. Then with more aspiration, ka. Then very soft, the third one, ga. Then the aspirated soft one, ga. And then the nasal one, nga. I hope I'm not going too fast. Here is another way of showing the same. Ga, ka, ga, ga, and nga. Here, non-aspirated, aspirated, non-aspirated, aspirated, and nasal. And this category is called the guttural in English. Even the word guttural, right? It's also guttural, is also back there. And in Sanskrit, it's known as gantya, related to the back of the throat. We come to the second row of consonants. Now here, those who don't know how to read the script, they might think this is the Italian cappuccino. So Marco in Italy might be thinking of a cappuccino because of this one. But we are writing this as a C, but pronouncing it as cha. So this is just a practice that some Harvard professors in the 19th century, for some reason, started. They could have maybe used a different letter as well to not confuse everybody. So this is pronounced as cha. Again, for the Italians, quite easy. And for the Spanish also. In the subtle body, in the left armpit, dissolves the knot of preferences, biases, and reveals compassion. The equivalent aspirated sound, cha. This should be much stronger than you think. Most of you, even though you're all from different backgrounds, will probably pronounce this one too softly. This should be really strong. Cha. The energy has to come out. The prana has to come out when you say it. Cha. It comes also in the mantras, in the syllables. You will see this. Cha. In fierceful mantras it comes. The subtle body, it is in the left elbow, dissolves the knot of narrow perspectives and reveals clarity. And I'm sure those who are intuitive among you can feel that. Cha! How can you keep a narrow perspective when you say cha? But it opens up and reveals clarity. Then, as before, there is a very soft form of this same series. So while this is cha, this is much softer. This is ja. And here I sometimes shudder when I hear the Swiss pronouncing this. They look at this, they see the word jata, for instance. Jata. Jata means born. Ajata means not born. And then they go achata, chata. But achata, my goodness, that is like my body shudders when I hear it, but not in a good way. This is very soft. Jata. So this would be ajata, ajata, not achata. Yeah, it's nothing to do with some kind of Spanish dance of a similar sound. Very soft. Here again, I wonder, is there any consonant in other languages that is this soft? Maybe Marco can think about in Italian, I don't know. But this is not jata, it is really very soft. Jata, jata. The subtle body, it is in the left wrist. Dissolves the knot of restlessness, reveals enjoyment. What kind of enjoyment? The the scripture says example of the deities. So it's not the enjoyment of Starbucks. Well, although why not? Why not? We can also enjoy. There's also a kind of goddess on the Starbucks logo, so that's okay. But it's meant as sambhoga in Sanskrit, which means a kind of subtle enjoyment, a divine enjoyment. Ja is also a syllable that comes in many mantras. Then its aspirated form, ja, ja. Remember, the harsh and strong form of this is cha, but this is very soft. Ja, ja. In the left finger basis, in the subtle body, it dissolves the knot of instability, reveals truthfulness. These were the four, and now the equivalent nasal. Very similar to the Spanish ña, as in español. Very similar. Ña, ña. So like where the same place where you would say ja, but you make it a nasal sound. Ña. And this is in the left fingertips in the subtle body, dissolves the knot of addiction, reveals insight. It's very interesting. As some of you know, I've given these kind of teachings and instructions to many people, and some they go and they really pronounce these letters daily, like a sadhana. And at least 2 of them have told me they have really experienced healing in their body. One had a kind of a closed ear and kept pronouncing them for a while, for a month or so, and it opened up. Another one had a similar problem, and it was after one session, after our session actually, that it opened up. It's very, very interesting. So there's some deep esoteric science to it, some inner science to it. So these 5 that we have now covered are known as the palatals in English. Cha, cha, ja, very soft, ja, and then nya. And where are they in the mouth? In, of course, the palate. Where is the palate? Palate is towards the upper part of the mouth. So the tongue goes there. Cha, cha, and then cha, and then very soft, ja. Sorry, the palate here. This is the upper and this is the soft palate. And then nya. This is the place where sometimes the learners get confused. In which sense is the tongue touching this? Well, it is not touching it, it is going towards the talu. Talu is called the palate in Sanskrit. Therefore, these are known as the talavya sounds, the palatals. It's going towards the palate. If you observe closely, cha, cha, ja, ja, and nya. So that is now the second row. Now we come to the third row. These are known as the murdhanya, the cerebrals. And for Indian origin people, very easy, because they still use these. For non-Indian origin, again, a little tricky. You really have to roll your tongue back when you say the next series of consonants. These are represented with the dot below the consonant. This is to show that here the tongue is rolled back. So I'll demonstrate. Da. Da. So you roll the tongue behind behind the teeth, the front teeth, there is a little hill. And you roll the tongue behind that hill. And then you say, da. So this is not a tea, as you would say in English, and it's also not a British high noon tea or afternoon tea. No, it is da. In the subtle body, it's in the right hip joint, dissolves the knot of becoming, and reveals the flight through open space. Ke chara. Now, if you paid close attention, I already told you what ke means. Ke means in space. Remember? That's the meaning, the effect of it. Da. And then its aspirated form, ta. The subtle body in the right knee dissolves the knot of loss and reveals, how important, shunyata, emptiness. How interesting. Ta. Could that be the reason why so many mantras have the syllable ta, ta, ta in it? Of course. Then a very soft form, da. Think also, those of you, think also of the syllable pa that ends in this consonant. Pa. You haven't seen the pa yet, the meaning of the pa. But just think, the flight through open space. And now connecting that with pa, what effect that has. I think you are starting to understand how this divine language works. So here the soft da, which is in the subtle body in the right ankle, dissolving the knot of thirst or craving, revealing peace. Shanti. Then the aspirated form of it, dha, beautiful sound. Dha, dham. You find in some of the tantras, even the Dzogchen tantras, you will find dim, dham as a sound when the dakinis are involved. Why? Because it is located in the subtle body, in the base of the toe, dissolves the knot of defeat and reveals the laughter of the dakinis. Dham, dim, dhuru, dhuru. Yeah. And then the nasal equivalent, na. Oh, here, this is the German, remaining from the German version. In the subtle body, it is in the right toe, front of the toe, releasing the knot of hellish states and revealing awakening. Very soft. Na. Tongue is rolled back and then na. This was the third row. We come to the fourth row, which is the ta varga, the ta row. And the chart, you will see these are called dentals. Why? Because when we pronounce them, the tongue is nicely resting on the teeth. Ta. But not as in English or German or Italian or others. Well, Italian, I'm not sure, because taverna, I'm sure Marco will agree, taverna is quite the same. The same in Spanish, probably. I think taverna is probably a Spanish word, not an Italian one. I'm sorry for that. But it's the same place. So all the Latin languages, they get this one, but no one else. Because the Germans will say Tisch, which is not this one, and others will, English will say table, which is also not this one. This is ta. So you place the tongue directly at the teeth. That's why they're called dantya, related to the teeth. And then you say ta. Okay, so we go through the 4 and the nasal one, the 5th. Ta. In the subtle body, in the left hip joint, dissolving the knot of misunderstanding. It's also one I should recite a lot, and reveals the essence of liberation. Could it be that this is the reason why this happens to be Tara's, our Tara, the one you see right behind me? That's her syllable. Tare, tam, soha, swaha in Sanskrit. Her mantra, Om Tare, Tuttare, Ture, Swaha. It's all this letter, no other letter involved. And in her secret, more secret mantra, Om Tare, Tam, Swaha. This is her syllable, revealing the essence of liberation. The aspirated form of it, Ta. In the subtle body in the left knee, dissolves the knot of captivity, reveals flow. Ta. I can feel that. There's something there. When we say tam, something begins to open up, similar to the pa, as which you will also see in a moment. Ta. And then the soft, very soft again, da. In the subtle body, in the left ankle, it dissolves the knot of separation and reveals devotion. Da, da. Then the aspirated form, dha, dha. I think you've started to get the hang of it. In the subtle body, in the left toe basis, and dissolves the knot of worries, reveals delight. Which is why in many texts and compositions we have this dha, dham, di, diri, diri. And of course Manjushri's own syllable, Manju Ghosha, Manjushri's own syllable, dhi. And its nasal equivalent is simply na. This is like in English, probably, almost like in English, German, most of the languages, na. The left tips of the toes in the subtle body, it dissolves the knot of impatience and reveals desirelessness. We come to the last of the 5 consonant series, which is the pavarga, and in the chart this is known as labials. Why? Because pa, pa, ba, bha, ma are pronounced with the lips, and labial means lips from Latin. Quite straightforward, quite easy for all of you, because in all your languages you have this very clearly. Pa, pa, ba, bha, and ma. Now as to their meanings, the subtle body, the pa, is in the right torso. It dissolves the knot of illusion and reveals immaculate awareness. Now, for many practitioners of secret mantra, one of the most important syllables, pa. Why? Because it is the first part of the syllable pat. It is located in the left torso, in the subtle body, dissolves the knot of ego and reveals the fruit. The fruit of what? Of the path. Now you understand why, when combined with the ta, this pa dissolves the knot of ego, and reveals the flight through open space, Kechara. This is why this syllable is then used in practice. Pat! And consciousness is shot out into open space. Those who know those practices, you are beginning to see the connections, the dots. You're connecting the dots. Then we have the soft ba. It is in the spine, and it dissolves the knot of conflict and reveals the mother, the feminine energy. Those of you who are participating in the practice of the Queen of Great Bliss, you must be smiling now. This is her syllable. Ba, bum. It reveals the mother, the feminine energy, in the spine. Then the aspirated ba is in the navel, dissolves the knot of obscuration and reveals the nectar of bliss. The nasal equivalent ma is in the upper abdomen, dissolves the knot of self-exaltation and reveals beauty. We are almost at the end of the entire alphabet. Only the so-called half vowels, because they are a little bit like consonants, but they also have something of a vowel. Ya. How beautiful is its location in the subtle body? It is in the heart. Even the yoga studio people know this, because mostly yoga studio people won't know this esoteric depth that you are getting to know, but they know this, that yam is in the heart. It dissolves the knot of unrest and reveals luminosity. Ya. Then ra. This is quite a strong ra, also a supremely important consonant. In this case, we call it a half vowel, but it is also like a consonant. It is in the right armpit. It dissolves the knot of deluded views, kudrishti, and reveals heat. That is why we use it in all the mantras to produce heat, which you will see in a moment. How and why. Then the la is in the nape of the neck. It dissolves the knot of uncertainty and reveals security. Why? Because it is related also to the element earth, which is security. Then there is the va. Here sometimes people from different language backgrounds, they might think it is wa or it is something fa. No, it is va. So try to say it very softly with the teeth just sort of vibrating on the lips. Va. There's no equivalent in American English, I think, because it is not water. No, it is not wa. It is va. So it's somewhere between an F, like forter, and water. So very soft. Va. In the body, it is in the left armpit, in the subtle body, dissolves the knot of disease and reveals the unshakable vajra of the mind. Ja, hum, vam, ho, for example, is where it appears in a mantra. Then only the sibilants remain. Sibilants are sounds that make a hissing noise. That's why they're called sibilants. They are sha. The sha is with the tongue towards the palate. Sha. From the heart to the right fingertips, it dissolves the knot of sleep and reveals happiness. And then there is the sibilant, where the tongue is rolled backwards. Sha. Not so easy to pronounce. If you haven't said these before, you'll see it is quite a challenge to pronounce them. So in the tongue, the sibilants are here. This one, the palate, sha. Then you have to roll the tongue back like for the ta, and then you say sha, sha. Not so easy actually, to get used to it. And then the third one is easy for you. That is sa. That is like in the English word to hiss like a snake. This is the same one. Sa. In the subtle body, from the heart to the right tips of the toes, it dissolves the knot of burden and reveals dynamism. Then there is just the ha, which of course is one of the most important of all consonants. Think of hung or hri. Yeah, all the syllables have this. From the heart to the left tips of the toes, it dissolves the knot of conceptual thinking and reveals vast space. Which is why Longchenpa, the great master, says ha alone suffices as a practice. If you want to release all your concepts, he says, you just say ha 3 times. Ha, ha. And you are already in spaciousness. And then we have this sound, which is actually a combination of the ka and the sha. So it is ksha. And this also appears always in the tantric scriptures. It is from the navel and heart to the crown, and it dissolves the knot of deception and reveals the Vajrakaya, which is the Vajra body. Before I open a little bit of questions for you, because I'm sure some of you have questions, now just look at how the seed syllables are formed. The ha is space. Look here, it reveals vast space. The u transcends states. Shall we prove it? Yes, we just go back to the description of the short u, and there it is. It transcends states. Aha. And then the m with the dot. What does it do? It dissolves the knot of suffering and reveals perfection. So, that is why the seed syllable hum or hum, space plus transcending states plus bindu, this is also known as bindu, becomes the syllable hum. That's how it works. And then likewise, ha, which is space, ra is fire. I'm sure you remember that. Or do I have to prove it again by showing you? Well, I can do that. Reveals heat. Yeah, it's fire. So, ha, r, and then e. E, if you remember, I told you, it is the rising energy. And I told you, remember this one, but you might have forgotten. I'll show you again. We go to the E. Aha, it releases rising energy. E. So, hri. And then there is the expelling, the visarga, that expels energy. It releases liberating energy. Just this one. You may remember I said the A is just to help pronounce it. It could also be E here. It's about this one. That is how the seed syllable hri is formed. So now, of course, if you are a Sanskritist, you will not just say Om Mani Padme Hum Hri, Om Mani Padme Hum Hri, Om Mani Padme Hum Hri. No, you will say Om Mani Padme Hum Hri. And you will say the This is the releasing of the prana, the releasing of the energy. You will allow that to happen as you pronounce it, because then you get the effect. Space, fire, rising energy, and the expelling of energy, which reveals liberation. This is how the seed syllables work. I hope this was somewhat intelligible. I do understand that something like this, if you have never heard it, it could be, my goodness, this person is mad, right? But if you have some intuition for it, or if you have some relation to it, I'm sure you begin to understand it. So at this point, before we conclude with just maybe we can exceed 5 minutes, because I do want to give you one little taste of the cases. So you can say something like the Buddha in the heart. A little bit I want to give you the taste of that. But before we go there, I want to ask you, do you have any questions at this point? Yes, Katja.
Yes, this was wonderful. I'm wondering, with the power of the M, why would the Tibetan be hung, Hung, and not take advantage of it, as it were?
Yes. So here we are in the depth of a very profound and interesting discussion. And as you all know, my greatest joy in life is to make things complicated. Therefore, I will try to do that and also not do that. There are at least 5 reasons for that, Katja, and I'll try to say them quickly. The first is a historical reason. If you go to South India and to Sri Lanka, everybody is saying hum with an extreme M. And we Sanskritists, our hair kind of stands on end. Why? Because it's wrong. Hum. No, there's no M. It is hum. It is a nasal. But as you go north towards Orissa and then towards Bengal, suddenly the Bengalis begin to say hum like the Tibetans. And the further north you go, and then of course you end up in Tibet, it is all hung. So the historical reason, Katja, is that Tibetans received the mantras from the Bengali masters. It was the Bengali Mahasiddhas who went to Tibet and taught them the mantras. Now, how can you blame the Tibetans when they are simply pronouncing it like they were taught by the Bengalis? That's the first reason. It's a historical reason. Now, the second one is to take a step back from what you said and to point out that actually neither the Bengalis nor the Tibetans are really saying hung the way you say hung. It is the Americans and of course the British, the British have caused all the problems in history, at least recent history. It is the Americans and the British who think the Bengalis and the Tibetans are saying hung. They are not. They are saying hung, hung. They're not saying hung. And it's the British and Americans, when hearing the Tibetans say that, and the Bengalis, transcribed it as H-U-N-G. But the Tibetans wouldn't recognize that. If the Tibetans knew American and British transcription, they would be like, why is there an NG there? This is the second point. So there's a slight misunderstanding, or we could say a mishearing. The third point is, now this is where the South Indians won't like me. In fact, the Bengalis and the Tibetans are not far off from the truth. They are not. Because Panini says this is a sound going from the mouth through the nose. Where is that when you say hum? No, it's not there. So when the South Indians say hum, no, it's not correct. And the Sri Lankans. Whereas the Bengalis and the Tibetans, they are actually getting the effect correctly, even though it looks a bit wrong. It looks like a hum, but the effect is correct. Do you see, Katya? We are talking like on 5 different levels. So actually, when the Tibetans and the Bengalis are saying it, energetically it's more powerful than when the South Indians say it as hum. Aha! So we could almost say at the end of this loop, of this complicated explanation, just do it like the Tibetans and Bengalis are saying it, if you don't know better, because they are actually getting the effect right. Did you get it? So it's this kind of it's a very interesting point. I've only covered 3 points. There are only 3 Gayas, so let's stay with 3. There would be 2 more, but then we are in the 5 Gaya system, which is too complicated. Let's stay with these 3. So the historical reason, to summarize, there's historical reason, because the Tibetans got taught by the Bengali masters. The second point is that it is, in fact, somewhere... it is somewhere towards the truth. And the third one is the effect is actually correct when they say it. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it kind of
Thank
clear?
you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Practical application, but also fascinating. Thank you.
It's historically very fascinating. People are always gaslighting the Tibetans, saying, oh, they're saying everything wrong. No, no. You go to ancient Indian explanations and suddenly you get why the Tibetans are saying ye kam instead of ye sham. Because ancient Indians are also saying buruka and not burusha. So people, you see, people, they jump to conclusions. That's the human nature. People jump to conclusions because they don't know. They don't know themselves. So they think the Tibetans are saying it wrongly, but actually they're not. They're using the ancient Indian pronunciation. So then, yes, Vidya?
Acharya ji, you know the spelling of the word so
Yes.
hum. So there also the ma is coming. In English we write ma, no, in the end. So
Yes, yes.
is this pronunciation correct when we say so hum? So hum. Is this correct?
So here, okay, there's a wonderful discussion. I hope you all have these few minutes more. It's wonderful. So now, Vidya, the question is, are you saying so hum as the words, so, saha and aham, or as the mantra? Because if you are saying the words, then it is simply so hum, because the second is actually aham. Aham means I in Sanskrit. Saha means he. So hum means
So hum.
he and I are the same. What is he? He is the deity, and I, that's me. We are the same. So hum. So if you're using the Sanskrit word saha and aham, which becomes so hum, then it is, as you said it, so hum. But if you are using the mystical seed syllable, so hum, then it is no longer hum. And then it is because you are a South Indian. Please don't mind when I'm saying geographies. Yeah, please don't sue me after this. Because it's because you're South Indian that you are saying so hum.
Okay.
Go to a Bengali,
How will he say it?
so hung.
So hung. So hung.
Yes,
So hung. Is that correct? How I'm so hung?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So the spelling in English for soham should have been s so
No, no, no,
hung.
no, no,
No?
no. There are two different, because there are two different options. If you are
Okay.
using the actual, if you are using the actual word, the actual Sanskrit word, then it is this, the first one.
Okay.
Actual two Sanskrit words. Look, I'll put it in the chat. If you are using the seed syllable as a mantra, then it is the second variant. See here?
Understood.
So
Understood.
hum,
Yeah.
and then there is so hung.
Hung. Okay. Thank you.
Because you are from South India, you thought there is only one of these.
Yeah. The way I would have said Om Mani Padme Hung. This is how
Yes,
I would have said it.
yes.
But you're saying that's not the right way to say it.
You would have said hum with an M.
No, I was saying probably because I listened to it so many times now in Nepal. I was saying
Correct,
Hung only.
correct.
Om Mani Padme Hung.
And geographically, where are the Nepalis? They are the neighbors of the Bengalis, and they're
Yeah.
right below the Tibetans. So
Yeah.
that's why they are saying it like that. Yeah.
But it's easier when we spell it H-U-N-G, because then we clearly understand that that nasal sound has to come.
Of course. And
When you spell it H-U-M, then it's confusing.
sure. And that's why our dear American friends and our British brothers write hung when they explain the innermost secret practices. They write it's a hung.
Yeah, H-U, no, actually. You have
No,
written
no, no, no. I'm
H-A.
not talking about the syllable hung now. I'm talking about the
Okay.
syllable hung.
Okay. Yeah.
So they write it as a hung, and I go like, oh my goodness. No, no, no. This is not a hung. This is a hum, like this. Yeah, this would be the correct one. Here I'm talking about there is an inner practice where in the upper part of the body is the syllable hum, and in the lower is the ah. And then the Americans and the British, they sometimes write this as a hung in the books, you know. So, but why? So that people somehow get it right. Yeah. So here, to summarize for those who kind of think, what is the discussion really about? We are summarizing transcriptions. We are summarizing differences in transcription, differences in phonetic transcription, where from South India to North India to Tibet and Nepal, everything is a little different because everyone's doing it a bit differently. But if you go to the original script, it's all one. So if you look at the script of how the Tibetans are writing this one, it's exactly the same how the Bengalis write it, how the South Indians write it, and how the Sri Lankans write it. You get it, right? So in the original script, it's all one, but then phonetically, everybody is writing it a bit differently. Does this explain the confusion? Good.
Yeah, thanks. I think I got it. Thank you.
Great. So now before I release you, let us just very quickly give me a tiny little thing that I can show you the cases. So here there are in Sanskrit, as in many other languages, there are various cases. So if you want to say the Buddha is speaking the Dharma, then this is known as the first case, and it is called Buddha actually, and Deva. So if we want to say the Buddha speaks the Dharma, we say Buddha Dharmam Vadati. If we want to say the deity goes to the Buddha, Deva Buddham Gacchati. Yeah, so this is the first case, straightforward. The first case is the subject of the sentence. It is the doer or the focus of the action. It is the who. Who is doing it? The Buddha is doing it. Deva is doing it. Very straightforward. We can cover it in 10 seconds, literally. Now, the second case is already important to be a little bit attentive towards. The second case is the object of the action. It is that what the verb is acting upon. So here we said, the Buddha is speaking the Dharma. Speaking is the action. What is the action acting upon? The Dharma. He is speaking what? He is speaking the Dharma. Therefore, you will see the second word dharmam here is in the accusative or second case. Another example here is bodhisattva dharmam shrinoti. The bodhisattva hears the Dharma. I hope I was not too fast. Can I ask, does anybody want to tell me in this sentence, what is the first case? Because the slide is telling you that dharmam is in the second case, it's in the accusative case. But which word in this sentence is in the first case, the one that you learned in this slide? Would anybody like to try? Just, you don't have to raise your hand, you just say.
Bodhisattva?
Exactly. Bodhisattva is in the first case. Dharmam shrinoti. Now I'll do a little joke, which doesn't work, of course, in Sanskrit. What if we wanted to say, the Dharma hears the Bodhisattva? Would anyone like to try?
Dhamma Bodhisattvam.
Absolutely wonderful. He just turned it around. Did you hear? He said, Dharma Bodhisattvam shrinoti. How easy. Then we have Tara, that is the goddess Tara. Sattvam is the sentient being, and Pashyati means to see. You know the word Pashyati from Vipashyana or Vipassana, yeah, to see. Tara, Sattvam, Pashyati. Would anyone like to try? Might be a bit difficult, but I think the gentleman who just did the previous one, what would be the sentient being sees Tara?
Satvaha taram pashyati.
Taram
Taram.
Pashyati. Exactly. Yeah, so these are the two first cases, the who and the what. The third case, and don't worry, in the future sessions we are going to repeat this endlessly, don't worry. I just want you today to have heard it. The third case answers by whom and with what. It's called instrumental. By whom and with what? Buddha karunaya vadati. The Buddha speaks with compassion. Sadhaka satyena gacchati. So here I should go like this so that you know this is the word we're talking about on the slide. Sadhaka is the tantric practitioner. Gacchati means to go. And satyena means to go with truth. Now the reason why karunaya and satyena look so different is because karunaya comes from the word karuna. And karuna is a feminine word. And feminine words and masculine words and neuter words are not done in the same way. Satya becomes satyena and buddha becomes buddhena in this case. I know I might have lost some of you, but if buddhena means with the Buddha, would someone like to try? The sadhaka, the tantric practitioner, walks with the Buddha. Would somebody like to try and make that?
Sadhaka buddhena gacchati.
Exactly. Sadhaka buddhena gacchati. Then we have the fourth case, very easy case. It is the dative and it simply marks the recipient or the beneficiary of an action. This, for those with a Hindu background, this is the famous Om Namah Shivaya, yeah? The homage to Shiva. And then here, of course, the famous Namo Buddhaya, which you saw at the beginning of the session today. Who is the recipient of the homage? The Buddha. Therefore, homage to the Buddha. And then in this example, Shishya means a student or a disciple. Shishyaya jnanam dadati. He or she, there is no gender here, he or she or even it gives knowledge to the disciple. To whom? To the disciple. Shishyaya. So, if I want to say, I know I'm challenging you all a bit, the Buddha gives knowledge to the Bodhisattva. What would that be? I know this is quite challenging, but what would it be? Try. The Buddha gives knowledge to the Bodhisattva.
Buddha bodhisattvaya jnanam dadati.
Exactly. So, Buddha, now I'm not doing all the thing correctly. Bodhisattvaya jnanam dadati. This is, in this sentence, this is the first case, the who is doing it. This is the recipient, the dative. It is to the Bodhisattva that he's giving it. This is the second case. What is he giving? He's giving jnanam, knowledge. And dadati is the verb. Now, the brilliant thing about Sanskrit is, this will freak you all out, I hope. We can turn all this around and it makes no difference. Bodhisattvaya Buddha dadati jnanam. It means exactly the same. Why? I'll make some more variants. Please consider, why does it mean exactly the same? Why does it not change in meaning?
Because the word itself has the case code in it, kind of.
Exactly. Because you wonderfully said the word itself has the case in it. So no matter how we turn around the words, it always means the same thing. So that means in Sanskrit, we don't have a fixed sentence structure because we have the cases, yeah? Don't worry, if you didn't understand this, we will repeat this again and again. The fifth case is from whom and from what. It marks the source or the cause. Bodhicittat, from bodhicitta, nirvanam avapnoti. Who? We didn't say who. Let's add a who. Sadhaka. The spiritual practitioner, in the first case, from bodhicitta, due to bodhicitta, attains or obtains nirvana. What does he obtain? Nirvana, second case. From what does he obtain it? From bodhicitta. Who attains it? The spiritual practitioner, the sadhaka. Bodhisattva. Margat, marga means path, na means not, and patati means falls. A bodhisattva does not fall from the path. And you can turn it around. Margat na patati bodhisattva. Sadhaka margat patati. Can I ask some of the others, not the Indian origin? What does that sentence mean that I just said? Sadhaka margat patati. Or anybody?
Yeah,
It's the
the
tantric
students fall from the past.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Whereas a bodhisattva does not fall from the path, a sadhaka, a student or a practitioner, falls from the path. Of course, I'm just trying to say he can fall or she can fall from the path. Great. You are really, I think many of you, so easy. Sixth case is whose or of whom, of what. It's the genitive. It's like in English, the Buddha's teaching. Buddhasya shasanam. Siddharthasya putra. Putra means son. Rahula is the name of Buddha's son. Asti means is. Rahula is the son of Siddhartha. So, Siddharthasya is in the sixth case. Putra is in the first. Rahula is in the first. And Asti is the verb. Buddhasya is in the sixth. And Shasanam is the first. The teaching of the Buddha. Siddharthasya putra Rahula asti.
Acharyaji, Shashanam will be second or first?
It is first because it is neuter. That's why it ends with M.
Oh.
Like palam. That you haven't learnt yet. And the last case, super easy, is the locative which asks the question in whom and in what. Hridayam means heart. Therefore, hridaye means in the heart. This is what I had sent you by email. Hridaye bodhi bhavati. Awakening is in the heart. Dharme sukham asti. Joy is in the Dharma. Can I ask what would be joy is in the Buddha? Anyone?
De
Sukham
Buddhe
asti.
sukham asti. Right? Very easy. Sukham, first case. So you have to begin to learn the cases and marking the cases. My teacher always said, mark the case above the word. Like put a little 7 above the word. Before we conclude, I have given you a list of Sanskrit words that most of you will already know, so that you feel confident that you actually know so many words. Here I am addressing the non-Indian origin. The Indian origin people, you have thousands of Sanskrit words already. Yeah, so wherever you might not fully know the word, I have also added the translation. But most of you will have heard the word pranayama, which means control of the prana. Most of you will have heard the word samsara, right? So stupa, here I haven't given the translation. So here these are masculine. Then I have given you a list of feminine words. Shunyata, tara, everybody has heard this. Vipashyana. And then wherever you haven't, maybe you don't know the word's meaning, I've given you the additional explanation of the meaning. These are the feminine ones. And then here you see the neuter ones. Again, you know so many: nirvanam, karma, dukkham, shilam, dhyanam, yanam, after all the vajrayanam, right? The mahayanam, and so on. So jnanam, and the Buddha's parinirvanam, right? So I've given you all the padmam, you also know, sharanam. What do you think Buddham sharanam gacchami means? It is so easy. Then I have given you a list of useful verbs in the present tense. Asti, bhavati, patati, vadati, kridati, jvalati, dhavati. You can look at them at your own pace. And here I have given you the sources of the works that I have used when making today's 72 slides. Quite a few works. You see what is behind it. Please do value it. What is your homework? Your homework is play around with the words that you have here and the cases that you have learned. Play around with the pronouncing of the words. Play around, for instance, here you have the word upaya. Upaya means method. The third case, little reminder, instrument, or with what? Satyena. Therefore, if you want to say with the method, it becomes upa yena, with the method. Sadhaka, the practitioner, look here, sadhaka, upayena, with the method, pujam, the worship, karoti, does or makes. Sadhaka upayena pujam karoti. The practitioner does the puja with the method. So maybe this is a bit too advanced for you, but some of you, I'm sure you can play around. My request to all of you is, please, each of you do 3 sentences, tiny sentences, but do 3 sentences with the words that you have in the slides. Even if they are wrong, there is nothing like wrong. The first time my teacher taught me Sanskrit, I was 12 years old. I was sitting in front of a monk and I looked at him and I was really scared. And I had no idea after 1 hour, 1.5 hours, what he had said. 0. So if you do something wrong, don't worry. That's part of it. I've really taken a lot of your time. Next time it'll be only 1 hour. I didn't think that going through the alphabet would take so long. Next time it'll only be 1 hour, and I will send you all the slides. And then hopefully in about 2 weeks, we will have the next, after my visit to Rome, we will have the next Sanskrit class. I hope you enjoyed it. And Sarva Mangalam means auspiciousness for all. You will see in the word sarva, in your word list, sarva is there, all. Mangalam is not there. It should be there, actually. I will add it before sending it to you. Sarva means all, and Mangalam means auspiciousness again. Sarva Mangalam means auspiciousness to all and for all and from all. So with this, we conclude enjoy your rest of the day, and thank you very much.